Day, Thursday, September 18th, 2025. It says 19th on here, but it's really the 18th because it's my grandson's birthday. 6 p.m. Will everyone please rise for the flag salute? Ready? One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have roll call?
Director Bañuelos,
Here.
Director Barajas,
Present.
Director Cullen is absent, Director Jones is absent, Director Lopez is absent, Director Sandoval.
Here.
Alternate Vice President De La Rosa,
Here.
Vice President Church,
Here.
and President Silva.
Present. Thank you. Erica, would you please announce our translation services available?
Servicios de traducción están disponibles en persona o a través de Zoom, seleccionando el icono de globo en la parte de abajo de la pantalla.
Thank you. In review of the tonight's agenda, looking to our board of directors, can I get a motion for action to approve this agenda as presented? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve this agenda as presented tonight. Is there any input from anyone, public or otherwise? All in favor? We'll do a roll call since Jose Luis is online.
Director Bañuelos,
Yes.
Director Barajas,
Yes.
Director Sandoval, Alternate Vice President De La Rosa,
Yes.
Vice President Church,
Aye.
and President Silva.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to general manager comments.
Just a couple of quick updates. As you know, we concluded the Surplus Lands Act process for the sale of Sun Street. Did not complete or consummate a sale. We sent the compliance report into HCD at the state level about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. And that's a 30-day time period for them to reply back that we have achieved compliance, at which point we'll go ahead and start the process of open market sale of the property. And I'm working on engaging our real estate agent to help us list that. So that's on its process. The recruitment for my position, general manager's position, has opened. The consultant has released the flyer out to various publications. Just the initial phase, which is just simply getting applications, and we'll talk about the rest of that during closed session tonight. But the initial opening of that position has been released.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say, this part of this was there was some discussion at the executive committee around the timeline being sort of kind of too long, and so they were able to sort of shorten up that timeline a little bit. So part of it was getting the brochure out now so that they can start getting applications in. But there'll be additional work that'll go on along with candidates once they have submitted an application. We'll again talk about that tonight. That's all I have.
Thank you. Going out to department manager comments, Caesar?
Just want to thank the directors who attended the communication dinner. Thanks for joining us. It was an excellent night with all our employees and recognizing them for their service awards. So just want to say thank you to everybody.
And just to reiterate the thank you to the board members that were there. We are in the process of wrapping up our annual audit. So we are on track to finish that, to be able to report out to the executive committee on October 1st in 2 weeks. And we'll bring back to the board as well next month.
Thank you. Brian?
Yes, good evening. If the board recalls, last April, you approved the purchase and installation of a fire rover fire suppression system at our Halone Road transfer station. We procured it, installed it in June, and about 2 weeks after we had installed, this happened. Here's a video of what happened. The bottom right is the nozzle of the firehouse. It gets better.
Oh, it's not showing it up there? He still hasn't seen it. Oop. Now you see.
That's the company taking control of the camera. That's the company monitoring this. They've got an alert. There's the heat source. You can see the target there now. There's a target on the fire. That camera was moving because they detected it and got a warning. So, and this is a firefighting foam. So it's not just water. A great advertisement for recycling your lithium ion batteries instead of throwing them away.
Mhm.
Well, we don't know for certain, but you can tell by how quick the fire took off that a lot of times that is a sign of a lithium battery because they go off pretty fast.
So we had a second episode a couple of weeks ago, that they have a heat sensor detected the heat and it sends off an alarm, and our staff was able to respond prior to discharging the foam. So we've had 2 engagements with the fire rover since we installed it.
Have you shared that with the company that sold us that apparatus?
They shared that in theirs.
No, it's
So this is
they,
their
yeah,
video.
it's their video, and it's on their LinkedIn page right now.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I apologize, I do not have a video, but I do have information to share. Well, now I sidetracked. Yes, thank you. Just wanted to report that we had a record number of attendance at our composting workshop last Saturday at Natividad Creek, which was also a compost giveaway. Normally we have like around maybe 10 attendees for the composting workshop. We had 35 this last event, so that was really great. And then a reminder that the last cleanup in September is for Soledad, City of Soledad. And that will be at the high school next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday. So just a reminder on that. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to our general legal counsel comments.
Nothing for me, Madam President, just happy to see everybody in person.
Yeah, we're happy to see you too. I'll take it out to our board of directors comments. Since we have Jose Luis online, I'll go to him first.
No comments. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Here in the chambers?
Yes, I wanted to say thank you for the invite.
Can you guys turn on your mics? I can't hear you guys when you're speaking.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Sorry, thank you, and thank you for inviting me to the employee appreciation. You guys care. Your employees, I see their passion, I see their heart, that they enjoy what they do, and just the administration, the leadership that you guys, show with all employees. I really appreciate it. Also, with that note, we will be having our ceremony tomorrow for our POW MIA ceremony. It's a prisoner of war missing in action tomorrow at 8 a.m. at City Hall, if anyone is invited to attend. And then also we're having our grand opening ribbon cutting for Tractor Supply Company this Saturday at 11 a.m. So the first 500 people will be receiving a free hat on behalf of Tractor Supply Company.
Yeah, nice. Congratulations, Soledad.
Yes, it's happening in Solid. You beat us with Dutch Bros. Now you beat us with Tractor Supply. I'm not jealous. I did get a chance to attend the employee appreciation dinner, and congratulations, Baltasar. He deals with a lot of customers, but I I've been going to the dump for many years and at the transfer station, and even when I'm doing something I'm not supposed to because I didn't separate my trash, he always has a really nice way of saying, "Oh, come over here and, separate the metal." And so I know a lot of customers, so I missed that award, but congratulations to that. That's always a lot of fun and really good food. I got a chance to attend the Natividad Creek composting. I didn't know so many people were gonna go. I was like, what? And there was so many people so excited about that workshop, asked me so many questions. Our staff did a fantastic job. It was just really good to see so much community getting engaged with compost. I learned a lot too. They even had something, they talked a little bit about the community garden at Natividad Creek Park, and they did like pressed flowers. It was just a great event, and I hadn't walked that community garden in a long time, and they're growing figs and trying to grow avocados. They just got so many good things. So good job to the staff. And I think that's all I got, except for in October, I'm looking forward to taking a tour with some of the community members that are interested in learning a little more about recycling. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn? Nothing to share? Gloria?
I'll echo the rest of the council members, board directors. The dinner is always a great event to attend. We get to see the employees and they like working here, and that really made me happy. I talked to a young man that has been working maybe 3 years, and he left another, I think it was rain for rent or something. And boy, he was telling me, this is the best thing that I ever did, leaving that company. And I said, well, you're going to stay here for a long time. Look at these employees. They're here for a very long time, and they're very happy working here. So again, thank you.
And I'll close by saying, I'm sorry I missed the employee dinner because that is one of my highlights of being on this board, to attend every year. I've been attending for as many times as I've been able to since I have been on this board, which is probably a good 14, 15 years or so. And I've seen different venues. The family feel of the employees in this organization is second to none. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Very respectful people. And I think a lot of that, it starts at the top. So whatever the atmosphere is in the office, it filters out to all of you out there. And I think as board members, we can sense that, we know that, and we applaud that to all the staff for making all of these employees feel very valued. Today, here in the city of Gonzales, we have a new fire truck. Arrived on Monday, and we were able to dedicate it this afternoon. We did it right in front of the fire station. It's been a long time coming. It is a red fire engine. The children that came to see it, they just all wanted to touch it. And they climbed through it. They climbed out. I sat in the driver's seat. It's awesome. So for any of the jurisdictions that are looking for new fire trucks out there, they're not in the discount pile. They're close to $1 million a piece. So plan now for later, truly. And it was with the help of our supervisor, Chris Lopez, who helped get us some of the funding necessary through our CDBG grant and through our Measure K here in Gonzales. So anyhow, stop by anytime to see it. Yes.
Got it. Ciclovia,
Rewind over to Andrew.
I don't know if we're involved in Ciclovia, but it's a great event in Salinas. I'd love to see our mascot out there. Are we? We are? We're good? Are we?
We are involved by providing the event organizers with recycling bins so that they can collect recycling during the event. We've attended in the past and just have found that because there's a lot of moving, that it becomes a little bit more difficult to do like the outreach and education we normally would do. So we have attended in the past, yes, and then this time we're providing them the recycling bin so that they can actually collect recycling during the event. So
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be great if we could have our mascot. I wouldn't mind wearing the costume, but it would be great. I was just bragging with, I'm on MBARD and how our agency is informing, the public and things like that. But also a small pitch, they're looking for volunteers. Adult volunteers, it's only youth-led or event. So if you are all up for volunteering, I'll be out there. I'm not sure what they're gonna have me do, but I'll be out there.
Thank you. And thank you to all the board for your comments tonight. We'll move on to public comment. This is a time we receive public comment from the audience on items that are not on tonight's agenda. The public may comment on scheduled agenda items as the board considers them. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes at the discretion of the chair. Is there anyone in the public who has anything to share tonight?
Hello. I am 2 months late because I missed a bunch of things. 3 minutes, but I will beg for your discretion, but let's see how I perform in these moments. I stayed an hour and a half long at the last meeting because I didn't know it started at 4. But I learned a great, all's not lost. I learned a great thing like catering services, new standards for disposal. And someone said SP rule or manufacturing, like they all have to get on the same level. So I'm excited for that too. All my problems are results of manufacturing, how they process packages. So this is what I did for the summer. I went to the dumping day in Gonzales. Thank you, whoever did that. I got a used shampoo cleaner for the carpet, so that was nice. Cleaned it up. So yeah, I appreciate everything. My main agenda is reducing my trash from like a brown bin being taken out every week to every 2 weeks and then every 3 weeks due to composting and eco bricks. And then it was kind of hard to get to that point, but I will tell you how I got to that point. I looked up the website, and the website said to throw away plastic single use in the garbage, and that wasn't enough for me. I didn't like that answer. It said, if you can't find a place to dispose it at because of COVID rules. I was like, what is this website like not dated right? COVID-19 rules, and then it said like Target and Safeway or Lucky's, and I was like, oh my god! And this is the official site. The app doesn't work because every time I click on it, it leads to Routeware. It just leads to your distributor, whoever does the app. So the app still doesn't work, and I've been like complaining about it, but just to let you know that it doesn't work and it hasn't been helpful. But the composting information has been. I bought myself a used composting thing for like $25. Started using that, and then most of my trash was stuff like this. So I started cutting it up with sewing scissors. I'm not going to bring blades to this meeting, but I cut them up, and this is like 3 months worth of plastics. It goes to a point to where my brown bin, out of a household of 3, I could take that brown bin out every like 3 weeks. Now, that's not gonna, appease some people because I know some cities are raising their garbage rates. No comment there, but it's helpful for people who are how do you say, are overfilling their trash bin and getting ticketed for it. The app is outdated. This is useful and composting's good. It could be, distinguished. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say, to be honest. But I appreciate the programs, and it does work, but it's just going to be hard to get the community on board. And the last comment is, if you could get that video and post it to your Instagram page, that'd be nice. That would be really helpful to tell people that your vapes are setting people on fire, dude. And then if people see that, they say, "Ooh, hey, that's Chico. Oh, he's on fire. Oh, watch out." Yeah. So just most of the problems I see is this manufacturing in the public. So I'm not sure how to communicate this to the public, but it works. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I don't think he identified himself in the beginning. You're Andrew Brown, correct? Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who has any comments to make on items that are not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, do we have any on Zoom?
No, we don't.
Do we have any from email?
No.
No? Okay, I'll bring it back. The next item is, item A is our 2025 Employee of the Year recognition.
All right, good evening, President Silva, Board of Directors. So this year, Employee of the Year was nominated by multiple employees. Their coworkers nominated him because of his work ethic, his dedication, and customer service. Anyone who has visited our Salinas area facility between March of 2009, which is when he started as a authority employee, but we used him before that, so he's been at the facility since 2008, I believe. Has more than likely interacted with him at the facility MRC. He always greets customers, vendors, or coworkers with a cheerful attitude. He engages in conversation and makes you feel welcome. He assists customers with information and assists in recycling or unloading heavy appliances. He is one of our go-to employees every spring and fall when the maintenance for the Crazy Horse and the Lewis Road landfill come up. We have been fortunate enough to have him as our employee since March of 2009, and before that, 2 years before that as a temp. We appreciate his hard work and dedication to our customers and our facilities. So this year's 2025 Employee of the Year is Baltasar Serra. So, in recognition of his commitment to safety, environmental responsibility, splendid work ethic, individual contribution to the agency, and exceptional dedication to serving the Salinas Valley by providing excellent customer service with positive attitude, awarded on this 18th day of September, the Employee of the Year is Baltasar Serra. Do you want to say anything or?
I want to say thank you for having me here in the job. Actually, I learned many folks, many people. Uh, uh, each day I learn anything and something new to do in the job and keep being more progressive. And thanks for everybody for this thing. I didn't expect to have a reconnection, but take me by surprise the last time we had the dinner. It's kind of, wait a minute, me? About coworkers to put me there. But well, thank you. I don't want to be too much talking. Thank you.
And on a quick note, we already have our next date for the 2026 communication dinner.
Okay.
So you want to make a note of it, August 21st, 2026. At the
Great
Crazy
date.
Horse Club.
Can we get a picture with Baltasar before he goes?
Definitely. August 26th. Oh,
21st
21st.
in 2026. Thank you. What are you gonna do? All right. Yes. Oh, I live. Sorry.
Like, box guys.
Okay. I'll get there eventually. All right. That's what I like. All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Have the Board of Directors had a chance to review our consent agenda? And if anyone has an item that they would like to pull for further review, please let me know now. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion for action.
So moved to approve the
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll take a roll call vote, please.
Director Banuelos?
Yes.
Director Barajas?
Yes.
Director Sandoval? Alternate Vice President De La Rosa?
Yes.
Vice President Church?
Aye.
And President Silva?
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll move on to item number 5, which is a presentation. Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority Annual Report 2024-25.
All right, well, this will be my last presentation of the annual report. So I'm gonna make this sweet and short. Yeah, this is really the highlight of every year for us, for me in particular, to see. Because this report itself is a collaborative process with all the staff. From Jana and Isidro in the front office, who are the editors in chief of the document. We produce this entire thing, other than the printing, we produce this entire report internally. And so we save money, but it also means we own it and we can put our own heart and soul in it. It's not a dry editor that's looking at it and making changes that we don't feel good about. So we'll start. As you know, our reports are always full of pictures. We want to honor the employees. We want to honor people that come to our events, the board, and all the work that you do. And so really it's a picture book, but it's also touching on all our highlights. So can you go on down to the next page? So our honorary front page, the board of directors and all the work that you do and the hard decisions you make, and the challenges that we bring to you every month. We want to make sure that you're duly noted here. My message, again, it's typically the same in the sense that it's pride in what we do. It's pride in some of the things we do. They're a little different than most government agencies, like our financial systems and how we work so hard to become what we think is a model for government financing. And those are the things I usually try to talk about and the successes we've seen, and you'll be seeing more of that next month. I know people don't get excited about the audits, but there are 2 people in this room that get really excited about audits. I'm one of them. You know the other one is. So, because that really tells the story of a healthy agency and tells you that we're taking this agency in the right direction, and that the board has provided the right kind of guidance for us to change that modem of how we run a government agency, more like a business. So board highlights, again, we touch on some of the major projects we've done this year, like finishing up all the work at Halone Road to improve that and modernize that operation. We have the projects coming up, the entrance project at Johnson Canyon and the new landfill, the header system, which we take a lot of, I think you got a presentation a few months ago about that. It took a lot of pride because that was all done internally. And they're putting in some very large pipe systems, gas pipe systems. It's not something you'd normally see staff do, but we have the talent to do projects like that. It saves us money. And again, it's pride of ownership. And that reflects back on all the employees that participated. And then all the different awards and recognitions we got this year from other community agencies and entities. We'd like to represent, obviously, you got Balthazar front and center here. And we'd like to recognize our new employees. And those of you that did attend the dinner, you'll see we got a great, I mean, that's probably the best picture I've ever seen of this agency, because we had almost every employee there, as well as several board members. And so to have a picture like that is really great memento for us. And then, of course, we like to recognize our promotions, because we do a lot of internal promotions. We try to encourage people to grow and learn and give them opportunities. I won't talk more about financial standing, other than our debt position continues to increase as we invest in capital, improve our facilities, and also set aside long-term reserves that we're going to need as we begin to build projects, hopefully without any kind of debt. We can do that with money that we have diligently saved over the years. And then some new items we put in here, cost of services. This again is just part of one of the things that came out of the board retreat a few years ago, trying to break down more of how we spend our money, where our money's coming from. You know, we've been slowly reducing our dependency on landfill tipping fees with the goal, the long-term goal of eventually minimizing the need of a landfill. You know, we're doing things right now with looking for new technologies right now that potentially will allow the landfill to last longer, which means we're getting our tipping fees will be going towards waste recovery more than they will be going towards waste disposal. So we break down the budget and where our money is being spent on the expense side. Slide, please. Again, tipping fees is just an extension of that, sort of where our tipping fees go. As you can see, the actual landfill and transfer station operations is only $46, but we still have $13 a ton in debt services, $6 for closure and post-closure maintenance of all the landfills we own, and then a little bit of money for on-site operational diversion programs. And then this is just our performance. You've seen this before. You see it every year, but this is again just a graphics of how each of our cities are performing, the diversion, what's happening at the landfill. This is not everything we're diverting. You got to remember your curbside recycling, your haulers are diverting a lot of material. And there are other larger businesses that are direct diverting material to market. They're not even using our service or the hauling services. So, but this does reflect the fact that we're continuing to chip away at waste going into the landfill. Because our tonnage has not really been going up. And that means, but our growth is going up. So that means we're pulling more out. We're being more efficient. Just some sample graphics that staff put together about, how much e-waste. It's equivalent to 40 elephants. So just some fun little graphics that kids and geeks might like to look at and understand that we really are removing a lot of material from our waste stream. And then AB 939, again, one of the board directives a few years ago when we were talking about the 939 programs, those are all of our non-landfill programs, household hazardous waste, all of Mandy's staff and her work in the community, things that aren't dependent on a landfill, but things that have an impact on the landfill. Those are paid separately. And so we've got both an update on what the money pays for, as well as how that money is separated. And you'll be getting a formal report on this next month. Or is it tonight? Oh, so I'm sorry, it's tonight, excuse me. And then grants, just summarizing the different grants that we got in this last year. You can see we got a fairly substantial amount, a little over $1 million, which is great. That really helps push the envelope and support all of our city programs and efforts. Then litter abatement, as we all know, that has been a huge issue for the county in particular, but really for all of us. And so we participate in a lot of different litter abatement programs. In fact, one of the reasons we're looking at building the Crazy Horse transfer station that we're talking about tonight is to improve the ability or improve the accessibility for people in North County or Salinas to have a place that's more convenient and easy and cost effective for them to do the right thing with their waste instead of dropping it off on the curbside. Next, please. And then now we go through just some of our outreach programs. I think, did you announce that last month, the award? Oh, well, maybe I'll let you, huh? I can steal your thunder. Okay. We did just receive a national award from SWANA for Mandy's staff and all the work they do, the best social media program in the U.S. So they got a great award for that. And this is why if you've been onto our website and you've watched Facebook, you'll see we have this continual feed of short vignettes, and they're usually done by staff. There's a staff person that Caesar just did one, I did one, Brian did one, Mandy, everybody's done. I mean, almost everybody in the office has done one. And really, it's just touching people with our perspective, each of our individual perspectives on something that we're doing to help the community. And we got recognition for that. So sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. So school and youth councils, you'll be meeting our new youth council coming up. That's been, again, very successful program, continuing to grow and get more interest at the schools. Our Ed Center is now really being utilized all the time, so that was a great decision, and we really appreciate the board supporting that. We're just really starting to put it to good use now, and it's a wonderful place to go hang out, to see all the different things, both inside and outside the building, as well as our memorial for James Martinez is nearby, down in that unused area of the landfill. And then this is Wally's 25th birthday. So he's getting old. He's getting old. He didn't come into existence the day we were born, but he did come into his existence after the agency was formed a few years. So we're celebrating his birthday throughout the year. And then just some statistics and information on Johnson Canyon landfill, all the material that flows through that. 226,000 tons, that's waste only, but we got another 50,000 plus tons of organics. We're doing the packaging now for all the ag businesses in the valley, as well as all of our other recycling programs. So a lot of materials being handled through that facility, and it's really our center point of all the things that we're doing right now. Solano Road Transfer Station, again, all the updates that has made that a very attractive facility now. It's better for the employees. Wintertime will the employees love it. The public loves it because they can actually go use the facility and not be in the rain. But all the final work we've done up there is really benefiting all of our programs. Our Madison Lane facility continues to service the greater Salinas area with the valley's only permanent household hazardous waste facility that is located at Madison Lane, and that serves primarily Salinas, but we also do mobile events occasionally in the South Valley cities as well with our mobile HHW van. A little bit about our operations, just really what our different workers, we wanted to highlight all the workers and their individual job roles. So I got a little summary there, as well as some of our large pieces of equipment that we got this year, thanks to the board's approval of the budget for putting aside reserves so we can replace some of our larger pieces of equipment. I can tell you, fire engines are close to $1 million. 836 compactors are in excess of $1.5 million. So some of our large pieces of equipment that are necessary for landfills are over $1 million now. And that's because there's a lot of steel in them. They're very, very heavy. They compact garbage. They push very large loads. These are mining style or mining level equipment. And then finally, a little look ahead of what the agency has coming in the next few years. The big ones are Module 8, which we'll be talking about very soon. That'll be going out to bid. We have the Johnson Canyon entrance project that will occur right after that module is constructed. So it'll be probably in the 26-27 fiscal year. The North County Recycling and Transfer Station, you'll be hearing a lot about that tonight as we discuss the CEQA documents. And then finally, Advanced Organics Recovery, which has been released. We had a tour of the landfill as well as the potential site that the TAP property owners are offering up to the authority next door. So very excited to see that project kick off, and we're definitely getting some interest from some of the vendors out there that want to provide a proposal to us. So we'll be talking a lot more about that in the next 2 or 3 months. And the heart and soul of what we do, our employees. With that, I will conclude my brief presentation, and if there's any questions you all have.
Any questions from the directors or comments? Okay, Eva?
I like the annual report. It shows the whole diversity, shows a lot of smiles, and it's great that this annual report is just collaborating all together with all the departments. So I appreciate the hard work that you guys do. And it shows that you guys enjoy and love your job. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it does a great job of highlighting the success of the agency, so kudos to all the staff. Patrick.
Thank you.
There we go. Funny, to be able to turn it on. That's the hard part, isn't it? It's just, it's a good report. It's a good overview. It's nice to see, and for me, who've been on here for 2 years, every time I look at that chart where I see where this organization started, then it was in red for so long, and then you just see this explosion upwards. It just shows you how well you and the rest of your team really have done a job. That is extraordinary.
Thank you. Gloria?
Patrick, I've known you for a long time. What can I say? You've done a great job.
Thank you.
And you will be missed. And I just want to thank you that, it shows in our agency, it shows in our department heads how well they're prepared and how happy everybody is to work here. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I can't say anything. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go out to Jose Luis on Zoom. Any comments, Jose?
No, yeah, just thank you for the presentation. I appreciate the report. And I know you mentioned this is your last time doing it, but this is my first and last time having an opportunity to hear you present this. But I also wanted to just commend you and thank you for your service, right? Like Supervisor Church mentioned, I've only been on this board, not even for a full year yet, but just seeing the progress and the trajectory of this agency over your tenure is something to be, recognize. And you should really be proud of doing that work and leaving our community in a much better position than I honestly think any of us could have imagined that the agency would be today. So just overall, thank you, and thank you to all the staff that help us reach and achieve all those numbers, right? Not just everyone who's there in person, but all the folks who are there, day in and day out, on weekends, on afternoons, doing all the good work. Thank you.
And I'll just echo the comments of all the other directors. I too appreciate the hard work that goes into making this annual report. But it starts with the foundation, and there's a strong foundation that I think you have created and that I know that will continue when I do retire. And I look forward to seeing the same types of positive reports in the years to come. Thank you again to everyone. Okay, with that. You got to turn your microphone on.
I want a birthday shirt.
Throw it out there. I'm going to it then. Okay, so I'm sorry, Patrick, give me a moment. I'm going to open it up to public comment. If there's anyone in the chambers that would like to have any comments about this topic. I see one person shaking his head no. Is there anyone? I know. And he's been here for a long time too. Do we have anybody on Zoom? No. Do we have anybody through email? No. Okay, we'll bring it back. Thank you again for the presentation. Appreciate it. Moving on to item number 6. It's an update on Assembly Bill 939, Programs and Fee Allocations. Staff report.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. So we started doing this presentation a couple of years ago, 2023, and we began providing an annual update on AB 939 activities. So this presentation will just cover this past year's activities along with the budget cost allocation. So basically, just a little snippet of the annual report that you just saw. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the AB 939 portion of that. As Patrick actually mentioned, the End Center at Johnson Canyon has really become our main hub for all things related to AB 939, including all things related to SB 1383 and organics. So the top picture on the slide here is the new graphic wrap that was recently added to the classroom side at the Ed Center. And it's Wally welcoming all the students. And it's the first thing that the students see when they arrive, usually on the bus. We park them right there and we kind of do a rules rundown before they get off the bus and start the tour. So I just wanted to highlight that this was the Ed Center and how much we use it, and how integral it has become part of our AB 939 program. So the presentation I'm going to give you tonight is, we'll just do a really quick review of what AB 939 actually is. I know we talk in a lot of acronyms in this industry, so I'll give you a brief rundown of what it is, all the programs that it includes, our regional agency's estimated annual diversion rate, as well as the estimated 939 cost allocations to each of our member agencies for this past year. So what is Assembly Bill 939? And I apologize for those of you who know this. Maybe Liz could recite it for me. No, okay. It's the Integrated Waste Management Act of 1989, and established that all cities and counties in California had to reduce their waste by 50% by the year 2000. So that was 25 years ago. And they had to do that by providing source reduction, recycling, and composting activities and programs. And they also had to ensure that they environmentally safely disposed of all of their solid waste. Each jurisdiction then had to have a planning document called a source reduction recycling element, or also known as the SRRE, SRRE. And that demonstrates how they will, each agency, each city or county will divert that 50% of their waste each year. And then AB 939 has some penalties, some pretty significant penalties if they fail to do so. So the authority is also the regional agency charged with tracking, completing, and submitting the electronic annual report, also known as the EAR, to CalRecycle. We do that each year for all AB 939 reporting for all of our 5 Salinas Valley cities. The county actually submits their own EAR separately. So the EAR also includes reporting on a bunch of other legislation, the mandatory commercial recycling, mandatory commercial organics recycling, and SB 1383, which is all things organics. And we do that on behalf of our regional agencies. So in addition, the authority also submits quarterly disposal reports directly to CalRecycle for all of our facilities, disposal reporting, diversion tonnage reporting. So all of that is tracked through the Scale House and the software that Ray and Ernesto use, and look at that data every single day. And then we report that through CalRecycle's RDRS system, which is the recycling and disposal reporting system. And then that data CalRecycle actually uses to populate the EAR report to give us our annual diversion rate. So it all, trying to, paint a picture here that it's all related and correlated, that everything that we're doing. So the source reduction recycling element, that planning document that I just mentioned earlier, there's actually 5 categories that make up that document. The first is source reduction, recycling, composting, public education, and then special waste, also known as household hazardous waste. So in each of those 5 categories, there are various programs that we then report and track on in the actual year in that annual report. There's 8 composting programs, and that can include our commercial curbside recycling, our residential curbside recycling collection programs, organics programs. There's 10 recycling programs, which would include all your mixed curbside. And then there's also 8 source reduction programs, and that it can include the material exchange that we have in our area. So that's like thrift stores, that's our clothing bins, things of that nature. Everything has to be tracked and reported to CalRecycle to say how well are we doing. And then there are also 6 facility capacity programs, and that includes responding and giving updates about our own composting facility, the Johnson Canyon landfill, anything new or exciting happening there, Halone Road Transfer Station. And then there's 6 public education programs that we report on, and that includes all of our media as well as all of our tracked activities. And then there are also 13 special waste and household hazardous waste programs that we have to report on annually. That includes our ABOP facilities. So that's antifreeze, paint, oil, or antifreeze, battery, paint, and oil, where you can drop that off at the landfill or Holon Road. And then our full household hazardous waste collection facility at Madison Lane. We report on that as well. Excuse me. So the year is submitted at the beginning of August each year. And for 2024, which is a calendar year, even though we do everything else on a fiscal year, but the calendar year 2024, the regional agency, we continue to be in compliance with the AB 939 requirements, and that's measured in pounds per person per day now. So you can see on the chart, we were at 4.5 pounds per person per day, which is our calculated disposal rate, which is just a little bit less than what we were last year, which is good. That's a good thing. And well below the 6.2 pounds per person per day, which is that 50% equivalent, which is that dotted line along the top of the chart. So in this case, you want to be below the line because that means you're above the 50% diversion level, and that's where you want to be. Next slide. So to assist with funding these 50 plus programs we just talked about and that were tracked in the year, the authority, as you all know, and with all of your input and approval, we now are fully funded in our AB 939 fees. So those are all the fixed non-landfill diversion program related fees, and they are not, we're no longer having to subsidize those with the landfill tipping fees. So thank you to the board for that. In this I guess this fiscal year's budget, the 25-26, the AB 939 fees, which you approved, it's a little over the 5.6 million, and each member agency's contribution amount and percent allocation is listed here in this table. This year, the board also approved including the procurement costs for SB 1383 for the compost and mulch. So that did increase the fees a little bit more than we normally would. So that's why it's up to the 5.6 million. And again, AB 939 fees allocated to each of the franchised haulers on behalf of each member agency are based on the average of the previous 3 years of franchised landfill tonnage. That's how they're calculated. Okay, so this is really kind of the meat of it. So for fiscal year 24-25 allocations of service and activities, these are based on the full cost of the AB 939 budget. And you can see here the percent allocations are listed under each of the jurisdictions' name in the table. So these allocations are estimates based on fiscal year 24-25 tonnage and facility data, tracked public education and outreach activities in our online database system known as Recyclist, as well as our track time on our personnel time cards. There's also a detailed line item budget estimate included in the agenda packet for this item, if you're interested in that. So for 24-25 allocations, Salinas and the county continue to account for a majority of our resource recovery budget, and that funds all of our staff. There's 7 of us in total. So Salinas was at 54% use, or approximately $821,000, and then 18% or about $270,000 use for the county. The marketing and education budget, Salinas and the county account for the majority of the budget use, and that was 61% or $226,000 for Salinas, and 17% or $63,000 for King City. So for the household hazardous waste facility, Salinas again accounts for 70% of the budget, or almost $800,000, and then Gonzales is next closest at 18%. Or almost $200,000. The 3 recycling center budgets for our facilities total almost $1.5 million. Salinas and King City account for the majority use of those budgets, $740,000 or 50% for Salinas, and $190,000 or 13% is attributed to King City's use. Again, these budget totals will vary year to year. And this is our best estimate based on 24-25 tonnage data, tracking activities, events, staff time. So our household hazardous waste facility and recycling centers are open to the public daily, and we continue to see increases in customer trips, which I will not steal Caesar's thunder and let him talk about that. Oh, I will say though that every single time I go to the recycling centers, there's always a ton of cardboard, and I think that's just our economy and shopping online. But we always have people showing up. I just did it personally with a bunch of extra cardboard. So I think it's great that we have that outlet for people to bring in, that extra stuff that doesn't fit in their curbside carts. So for 24-25, our staff participated in over 40 events, and we tracked over 675 activities. That includes staffing booths at our community events like the Day of the Farm Worker in King City that just happened, participation in all the holiday parades. We invested in a giant blow up gingerbread person, which is behind Wally. So that was new. We updated our float. We also host all of our composting workshops, not just at the community parks, but we have it at the Ed Center down at the garden, as well as our demonstration garden still at Sun Street by the office. We always continue to assist the franchise haulers with all their community cleanups. So like the one in Soledad, not only do our HHW staff attend and collect that material, we usually have a staff person that's there driving a van full of old clothes, and then we go run and donate that to Goodwill or bring it back to our clothing bin at one of our facilities. We do, as you all know, the conducting of the school tours at the landfill. That's really picked up, especially at the Ed Center. Continue to provide all the trainings and presentations for schools and businesses, especially for the schools with their share racks and getting the cafeteria staff on board to start donating edible food. Our marketing and media campaigns every year. This year, we really focused on billboards on Highway 101. Hopefully you saw them. There was also some billboards within each of the South County cities in Greenfield and Soledad. We really wanted to encourage residents to not just food scraps, but pits and peels, cooked bones and meats, because we kept getting a ton of questions about that. So we're like, okay, let's put up a giant billboard and hopefully somebody will pay attention. And then, of course, we always continue to implement recycling and organics programs at all of our schools, our businesses, and work with those multifamily complexes that, have really good management on staff and can help lead the program. We are currently working with North County High School and King City High School districts, which we have very much struggled to get both of those high schools on board with implementing their food scrap program. So that was a huge win. Sarah, who's our school leads, just recently got the go-ahead to start all the trainings. And Patrick did not steal the thunder on this one. We also received another schools recognition award, National Recycling Coalition, which is a national agency. Our schools program was recognized as best schools program in the US, the world. I wasn't going to say world, but yeah, I mean, come on. I know, I'm not doing anything. I'm just said, yes, apply. Go do it. That's awesome. So a full breakdown of all the activities and all the different organizations we work with it's in our annual report. So if you have questions, or if you ever have questions about why isn't Soledad High School have a recycling program, I got the text from Liz. Please reach out. Let us know, because, it takes a village to get people to take on the program. The program is not ours. We just help them implement their program, and we try to make it fit for whatever their situation is. So, I think we have one more slide, and it's just a reminder that Wally is turning 25. So we are hosting a Wally Waste Not Happy Birthday celebration November 15th at the Ed Center. If you've never been, please come have a cupcake with Wally. There will also be a very competitive cornhole tournament, so get your team together. Register with me, please. And there'll be the flower pressing. We'll have a composting workshop, free compost giveaway. If you have a bike you need to have fixed, we're also going to have the Greenfield community workshop will also be there to help fix bikes. So lots going on. Please come help and celebrate Wally in his 25th birthday.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, take it out for questions from our board of directors. Anybody? Comments or questions? Okay, Andrew, go.
What kind of cake does Wally eat? Oh, a cupcake. Yeah. What kind of cup? Oh my gosh, that's
Delicious, delicious.
a delicious cupcake. Thank you, Liz. We were actually thinking, oh, the kids used to call him M&M, so we were thinking maybe an M&M flavor. Yeah, because he looks like a giant M&M. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah gets to go to Wichita, Kansas to pick up that award. I know we're like, yeah, I'm not going. Pretty cool.
That is
And Brian's gonna pick up the social media campaign award because that one is in Columbus, Ohio.
Any other comments from our board of directors, Glenn?
And I apologize if you addressed this here. I was kind of looking at figures while you were speaking on it, but going back to the member agency contributions, the way the funds are spent. I guess what I'm kind of noticing, some of the agencies, some of the cities, everything are contributing a lot, and then what's being spent isn't going back into them.
Yeah.
And just kind of want an explanation. For example, Monterey County's 800,000 under, Salinas is 800,000 up. I mean, nice place, but don't like to give them extra money.
Yeah, and yeah, a lot of it has to do with the usage of the facilities. And so I'm not sure if the county or like maybe when the county, folks come in, they say, oh, I'm from Salinas, but really they are from like an unincorporated area. So if they don't say like I'm from Prunedale or I'm from Aromas and they just say like, oh, I'm from Salinas, then it gets coded as Salinas, especially for the tonnage. Cause I think sometimes I know we had that at Sun Street where people would get nervous and they didn't want to say where exactly they were coming from. So they just say Salinas. So that has a lot to do with it. I know for our education and outreach, we track exactly and we track our time exactly. So anytime we spend any time working on county projects, that time does get allocated exactly. But for the facilities like King City sucks up all the bandwidth for Halone Road because they're right there. We don't operate Madison Lane, so I don't know what their tonnage is, but that could also be like Madison Lane in terms of the transfer station could be servicing a significant amount of county and residents. But if they're saying Salinas and then they come to the HHW and they say Salinas, then I can only go off of what we have tracked in our system and what people
I
report.
see. And I noticed that with the cities too, Gonzales was up kind of about 300,000 too, which is pretty significant. So it was just.
Yes.
It was just interesting to see those disparities.
A North
Yes.
County transfer station might help that. A North County transfer station might help that.
I mean, that's a great suggestion, right?
But to that point, I think you make a really good point, even for the King City folks, because if people live in the rural areas of a city, they're gonna say, oh, I live in Soledad, but they live off of Metz Road, way out there.
That's
in the
right.
Pinnacles.
That's right.
They could live in San Lucas, and for lack of a better term, instead of saying County Monterey, they say King City because it's the closest place. So
Absolutely.
maybe it's up to all of us to go back and educate our communities and say, when you are using these services, it's for nothing else. We need to keep a better number. You're not going to be dinged or anything, but it's to keep a truer number because I'm sure there are a lot of county people who use the services, but say they're from Salinas or Gonzales or Soledad.
And even I know in some of like Greenfield, Soledad, Gonzales areas, the zip code for the city is the same zip code for county unincorporated. So
Correct.
unless you are specifically saying, oh, I'm in the city of Gonzales, even if we say like, show us your driver's license, it's going to say Gonzales,
Is
California.
that what we use? We ask the zip code?
Usually for like HHW, we will ask for driver's license, and so they're checking zip codes, yes.
Because that's obviously, it's a big issue out in the Ferndale area, which has a 93907, which also extends into Salinas.
Right.
I think actually you're probably 93907, aren't you? And further down, okay. So
Most of
it
North
makes a lot of
County is
sense
a
that way.
Salina, considered unincorporated. Most of North County is considered unincorporated Salinas. That's what shows up on driver's license, so.
Well, speak for yourself. Because I'm on Royal.
I personally changed mine to Prunedale, but
I think Ray actually personally changed his driver's license to Prunedale. Yeah, which there is no zip code. That's not, I mean, I don't know if that's the full answer to that, but all I can tell you is what
It's a
comes through, and we can only base it on so many different, data sets that we have, so.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eva.
I want to echo what he said and you said, because maybe we have to educate our community, because I don't know if it's just a fear of them getting in trouble for whatever reason, but I don't know. I think we just have to educate them and kind of let them know, like, hey, we need to make sure we have numbers, you're not getting in trouble, just stats. But
Yeah. Well, I know our landfill, our scale attendants there usually, I mean, they know repeat customers. So this isn't like the franchised waste, right? We know where that's coming from. These are self-haul customers. And sometimes when they ask them, like, where are you coming from? They're like, oh, I'm coming from, I live in Gonzales, but the garbage is actually coming from Prunedale, or you know what I mean? Like there's no, so it can skew the numbers, it really can, especially when you have the same zip codes for incorporated versus unincorporated. So,
Thank you.
and all of that is tracked. So,
Gloria, did you have any input? Okay. Jose Luis, how about you? Any input?
Just had some quick comments. I was laughing when you mentioned the M&M, that the kids call it an M&M, Wally, because I feel like I was one of those kids. I'm 26, so realizing that, Wally's only been around for 25 years, I realize he's a very
so
young.
it is your fault. Is that what you're saying?
I might be at fault
We'll
for that.
blame
Yes.
you for the M&M comments.
Yeah. And Wichita, Kansas is a lot funner than you all would think. I've driven through there on purpose, right? And hopefully
Would
what
you like to join Sarah?
I might be able to provide suggestions on places to visit.
Okay, very good. I'll let her know to contact you.
Yes, absolutely. But yes, overall, thank you for the presentation. Similar to Supervisor Church's comments, I was just interested in understanding why, the revenues and expenditures for AB 939 fees don't necessarily always get perhaps attributed or allocated in the same way that they receive funds, right? Obviously, Salinas is overrepresented, but thank you for that clarification. Very much so. Like the 93907 area code definitely encompasses a lot of parts of North County. Like today I'm down in San Luis Obispo, and some folks thought that Laguna Seca and Highway 68 was part of Salinas proper. So it goes to that point, right, of what people see on a driver's license and the data we might be collecting might not be completely accurate. But as we move towards the future, if there's any ways that we're able to perhaps collect that data in a slightly more accurate way, obviously we're still just asking people to self-disclose, self-identify. But if there's anything that we are able to learn, perhaps from another agency that helps us better attribute those dollar amounts, that time dedicated, and that tonnage would be appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments from the board of directors, I'll take it out for public comment. Is there anyone in the chambers that has any comment? And this is anyone on Zoom?
No.
Anyone from email?
No.
Okay, then I'll bring it back. And it looks like this is an informational only item. So thank you very much for the presentation, always informative. And we'll move on to item number 7, the annual tonnage operation and environmental compliance report for fiscal year 2024-25.
Okay, good evening, Once again, President Silva and Board of Directors. So tonight I'm going to present the annual tonnage operation and environmental compliance report for fiscal year 24-25. First slide here show the historic tonnage. As you can see at the very bottom, South Valley, the imported waste we used to have from about 2004 to 2014 has dropped off the list here. We've been operating the Johnson Canyon landfill now for 10 years, and that trash, pretty much that contract went away when we took over the operation there. So overall, in 2025, we landfilled 225,000 tons. Next slide, please. For the year at Johnson Canyon, we received a total of 305,000 tons. Go one slide back, please. Of that, about 24,000 was biosolids, C&D or dirt. We had another 55,000 tons of green waste, depackager or wood waste, and then overall we landfilled 226,000 tons. Next slide. Here's a breakdown of the diverted tonnage there. The majority of it being green waste at 41,000 tons, followed by other recycling. We'll go into the recycling here. Go ahead. Next slide. Additional recycling metal makes up a big portion of recycling. We also make money, good money on metal, usually about $80 or $90 a ton. So that provides some revenue for the agency there. Cardboard, as Mandy discussed, we get a lot of cardboard out there as well. So about 600 tons a year. And then mattresses is another big number, 143 tons, which is about 286,000 pounds of mattresses a year. Next slide, please. Overall origin of the landfill, the tonnage landfill, Salinas is our biggest customer at 58%. Monterey County counts for 21%. And then the South County cities are all about 5% to 6% of the landfill tonnage. Next slide. Permit compliance overview. Pretty much Regional Water Board is one of our agencies that regulates the landfills. They issue waste discharge reports, monitoring requirements, also issue the compost facility waste discharge requirements, 401 water quality permits, and the stormwater permits. County of Monterey, they serve as a proxy for Cal Recycle. So they do monthly inspections of all our active facilities, and they quarterly inspections of the closed facilities. Also do the CUPA program, which regulates HHW. And then we got Monterey Bay Air Resources Board, who also provides the permits for the flares and heavy equipment. Move into Halone Road. You can see this picture here is a nicely paved road that we did a year ago, thanks to the board. That thanks to the board, is now a beautiful facility that you can come in and out of, not have to worry about getting stuck in the mud. Next slide, please. So the Halone Road trips, we took over the facility in 2016. As you can see, the year before we're at 7,200. Since we took over the facility, the trips have pretty much stayed well above 12,000 trips a year. We peaked out at 16.7 actually, and then this year we dropped off a little bit. We did see a little bit of a slowdown across the facilities this year, so we expected that little drop off there. Tons have been pretty consistent since we took over as well, pretty much ranging in the 19,000 to about 21,000, and we're probably trending to be around 20,000 for this coming fiscal year. Next slide. The Halone Road improvements, just a quick reminder, the board approved capital improvement budgets in fiscal year 22 through 25 for facility improvements. We completed the Clearspan 12,000 square foot building a year and a half ago. We also poured a new tipping pad and added 5,600 square feet of tipping area for our customers, constructed a new break room for the employees, the paving project, which was done last fall. And we also added the fire rover, which Brian presented earlier today, for a total cost of $2.1 million of improvements over the last 2 years. So thanks to the board, that facility is a great looking facility for our customers in South County. This is something new added to this report. If you can look at this is the historical Halone Road regulatory history, and this is for the landfill. You can see the agency was born in 1997. So the chart kind of graphs the violations that facility has had since 97 through the end of the fiscal year 24-25. When we first started, obviously you can see we had 56 violations year one, followed by 27, 23, 31, 14. And then we kind of dipped down, and I don't think anyone was around, but we had an argument over who owned Halone Road for a number of years with waste management. So during that period, we got a lot of citations for not closing the landfill. As soon as we settled that dispute, the violations went down, the landfill got closed, permits got issued. Next slide, please. Overall, between 1997 and 2001, Holon Road had 151 violations. From 1997 to 2001, 96 of those violations were administrative, so they were permit compliance, and 29 were financial insurance and record keeping, mostly for the closure of that facility. 89 violations from 2002 to 2007. That's during the litigation period where no one took ownership of the landfill, so there was a lot of stuff not happening. So a lot of violations issued, and then 4 violations between 2008 to 2012. We've had 0 violations at the landfill since 2013. Next slide. The transfer station was permitted in 2007. So you can see the history violations on the Holon Road transfer station. We had 2 in 2007, then we kind of dropped down to 1 and then 0 and then 1, 0. You can see how it was up and down. Next slide. So from 2007, 2016, we had 6 violations and they were administrative. We had to adjust our permits for tonnage. We have a limit how much tonnage and how many vehicles we can accept. We adjusted that. We had 0 violations since 2017. Next slide, please. Move over to the Johnson Canyon landfill. Good. So same thing at Johnson Canyon. We have a bunch of regulators that visit us. Regional Water Board. They do 2 groundwater sampling events, 2 semi-annual reports, 1 annual inspection by the Water Board, and then they also do the revised monitoring and reporting program. IGP, we got 12 stormwater inspections, 1 annual report. Compost facility discharge and monitoring, we got 4 sampling events, 6 stormwater events, and 1 annual report. Next slide. And then we continue this Monterey County, 12 site inspections a year, 4 quarterly operational reports. The compost facility has 12 inspections a year. The CUPA, which regulates the ABOPs in the shop, has 1 annual inspection. The Air Resources Board comes out for 1 source test, 4 landfill surface emission tests a year, 1 site inspection, including the flares, generators, air, and compost, and also mobile equipment, and then 2 biannual reports, including Title V. Slide. Johnson Canyon trips as well. You can see in 2022 when we closed the facility, the Sun Street facility, the trip started creeping up from 52 to 57. The following year was 70,000. This last year we were at almost 74,000. So Salinas residents have found Johnson Canyon. So that's the reason we're talking about the new entrance facility to accommodate those customers. Next slide. Inbound tons have also been pretty consistent. We've hovered around 300,000 for the last 4 or 5 years. Overall tons coming into the facility. Landfill tonnage has been pretty consistent between 220, 225. Next slide. And then the operation at the Johnson Canyon, staff provided in-house proposal for the operation that selected in 2014. Since then, we've added 3 employees to assist with SB 1383, the depackager and the C&D. We added 5 new employees to assist with landfill operations, 2 diversion workers, 1 operator, a mechanic, and a field operations supervisor. We also have social vocational services and Hope Services that assist at the facility. And the 2024-25 operational cost was $5.8 million. Here's the history of Johnson Canyon as well, from 97 moving forward. As you can see, we had a lot of violations the first 4 years of operation. Going back in that time, from 97 to about 98, the authority was ran by contract operators while they hired staff. I think by 2001, we had about 10 employees. And then from there, we just continue to take over some of the stuff in-house. Next slide. So in 1997, 2001, we had 107 violations at Johnson. 38 of those violations were for compliance with terms of the permit, 45 for explosive gas control. So Johnson Canyon at that time did not have a flare, but we did have probes, and the probes are hot because we didn't have a flare. From 2013 to 2015, we have 13 violations. Those were gas controlled. 2017-18, we had 13 violations for gas control. And that board may remember we were trying to drill wells. We had a hot probe that's right on the property line that butts up right to the landfill. So eventually we got the wells done, but it took time to get the contract, get the permits, get everything going. So those 26 violations have been gas issues that we eventually controlled once we got new wells in there. And then 41 violations between 2001 and 2025. Next slide. Go to Lewis Road. For permitting as well, Regional Water Board, we have 2 groundwater sampling events at 12 locations, 2 semi-annual reports, 1 annual inspection, 12 stormwater inspections, 1 annual report. For the health department, they have 4 site inspections and 4 quarterly reports that we got to do. Monterey Air Resources Board, 1 source test, 1 site inspection, surface emissions test, and then permit modification application. Same thing regulatory with Lewis Road. at the beginning of the authority's life, we had a lot of violations through 2000. Go ahead and go to the next slide. 157 violations between 1997 and 2002. 50 of them were for compliance with terms of the permit, 32 for explosive gas control. So same thing at Lewis Road. When the agency was born, we had no gas flares. So eventually the authority took out bond money. We put gas flares at each site. Eventually took a while to control the gas. And then from 2002, in 2002, we had 3 violations. And since 2002, we've had 0 violations. Go over to the Crazy Horse landfill. Next slide. So for permitting and compliance, there's 2 groundwater sampling events, 60 monitoring locations, 2 semi-annual reports, 1 annual inspection by the water board. IGP or industrial general permit, 12 stormwater inspections, 2 sampling events, and 1 annual report. And then 401 water quality permit, 12 inspections, 1 annual report. The health department has 4 site inspections, and where there's 4 operational quarterly reports we do. Monterey Resources Board has 1 source test, 1 annual surface emission test, 1 site inspection, including flare and generator, and 1 annual report, and 1 permit to restart the old flare as well. And then Crazy Horse history as well. Same story here. We had a lot of violations till we got settled in and got the gas control under wraps there. Next slide. So 147 violations between 1997 and 2025. 133 in total between 97 and 2001. 42 violations for compliance with the permit. 41 for explosive gas. And then between 2002 and 2013, we had 11 violations, administrative and gas control. And since February of 2013, there's been 0 violations at that facility. Household hazardous waste, we did relocate in 2022 when we closed down the Sun Street Transfer Station. You can see the numbers took a dip in 22, 23. They climbed up a little bit. This past year, we were up to 5,400 participants and a little bit over 1 million pounds of material taken at the facility. We assist with franchise hauler cleanups every year. We also do weekly pickup of the ABOPs at the facilities. Freon extraction is done in-house. That's another cost savings for the agency. And also we assist with the HHW permits for SBS operations. Solid waste techs. We talk a lot about solid waste techs. Here's the techs putting together our tank farm at Johnson Canyon. And I can't say enough about the techs or our construction wing. We do a lot of projects in-house that save those tens of thousands of dollars every year. So I want to thank them for all their hard work. They continue to do the work on rolling closure at Johnson Canyon. They also expand the landfill gas and improvements at Johnson Canyon as well. We have 1 dedicated solid waste tech that monitors Holon Road and Lewis Road landfill gas system, probes, and leachate collection. They do facility construction assistance and prep as needed, and they continue to minimize the outside cost by completing tasks in-house. And then overall authority compliance from 1997 to 2025. Here's a graph of all the violations since the authority was born. Next slide. 553 in total between 1997 and 2001. 226 violations for compliance with terms of the permit, 118 for violation of explosive gas. So I bring these up because this was, remember when we look at the chart of the authority, when we were born and we were in debt for a long time, that's the money we took out to improve the facility we took over for the city and for the county. So 2002, 2007, we had 89 violations at Holon Road while the site was litigated on ownership. So 89 of those were during the litigation with the Waste Management over who owns the property. And then a total of 642 violations between 1997 and 2001. And the Holon Road litigation period. Overall, 0 violations since 2020. And then I just wanted to let the board know, because this was a big question in the employee survey, they are getting more tacos. And by the way, they have tacos today, so.
It's Taco Thursday.
Taco Thursday, yes. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from our board of directors? Eva?
I have a comment. Thank you, Caesar, for your presentation and all the slides. Just, can we go back to this slide? The last slide, where's the violations? You had mentioned that in the Holon location, there was litigation during between 2020 2002 to 7. Those were not ours, right? It was just more the
Yeah,
process and all that.
Site
Yeah.
had violations because nobody was maintaining it, because nobody wanted to take ownership.
Yeah.
Eventually, once the lawsuit settled,
Hmm.
then the violations started dropping off because we started fixing everything. We had a
Okay.
settlement with Waste Management.
All right. So even previous years, that was not us. It was just more.
They were,
kind of-
yeah,
The-
nobody
We
was claiming
picked it
them.
up. Yeah.
The site was
That's like-
owned by
that's like
Waste Management as part of the settlement. We actually bought the site and closed it down.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Awesome.
Any other comments or questions from directors? Seeing none here in-house, I'll go out to Jose Luis on Zoom.
No questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Again, thanks. It's always very informative and gives us a lot to think about and be able to take that to our communities. Thank you. We'll move on now to item number 8. For consideration, a resolution approving the initial study and negative declaration for the North County Recycling and Transfer Station. Staff report? Hi, Jose Luis. He pops up every once in a while. He's in San Luis Obispo, I think.
Yes, I'm in slow.
Okay. Is it raining there yet?
We got the rain a little earlier in the day, so it's just really muggy now still.
Okay, excellent. Good evening, directors. I'm very happy to be here tonight to deliver the results of the initial study for the North County Recycling and Transfer Station. Slide. So the purpose of the initial study is part of CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. It's to identify potential environmental impact of a project, to inform the decision makers, you and the public, of those impacts, and determine what the appropriate CEQA document should be: a negative declaration, a mitigated negative declaration, or a full environmental impact report. Next slide, please. So Crazy Horse has had quite the history of CEQA documents. This is actually the 8th CEQA document since 1991. Many of these have been full EIRs, which were very comprehensive and detailed. This one wasn't as detailed, but it also used a lot of the previous CEQA work and integrated into this document. Next slide, please. So as a reminder, the overview of the project is going to be located at the closed Crazy Horse landfill. It's about 5 acres of the 160-acre site. It's proposed to be a large, what they call a large volume transfer station, which means it's over 100 tons a day. And it's designed to be a 400 ton per day transfer station, including solid waste, recyclables, and organics. The facility operations would be receiving, separating, processing, and transfer of materials. Nothing will be landfill there. It's not a landfill, it's a transfer station. We're designing 2 buildings for the site: a main drop-off, solid waste drop-off building, about 25,000 square feet, and a recycling drop-off of about 9,000 square feet. There's a household hazardous waste facility plan. There'll be an existing shop that's located at the facility. And for secret purposes, we did the secret document on being open 7 days a week. Now, we may alter that, but if we did it with 5 days a week and tried to go to 7, we'd have to redo the secret document. So we did it at 7 days a week. Next slide. So these were 19 different categories that we analyzed as part of the checklist for the secret document. I'm not going to go through all of these, but yeah, next slide, please. So the summary of the findings. Most of those 19 items we found would have less than significant impact. The air quality, some of them had a lot of concerns. The air quality would be one of them. We found that all the air quality impacts would be below what they call a threshold of significance for air quality. For traffic and safety, we integrated the mitigation, which includes deceleration and merge lanes, into the project. For stormwater and stormwater runoff, they'll be managed under an industrial general permit, which is a stormwater permit. So the best management practices under that, covering areas, sweeping, cleaning up spills is all part of that. And the visual impacts, we found that the actual current look of that facility now coming from the street, that the actual visual impact will be improved from this project. Built-in design features of the project are dust suppression and odor control systems, traffic safety improvements, again, stormwater best management practices, litter control, vector management measures, and regular load checking and hazardous waste handling protocols. So through the initial study, we prepared it under the CEQA guidelines. Our finding was that the less than significant impacts, which resulted in a negative declaration. And tonight we propose that we adopt that negative declaration. After that's done, we file what's called a notice of determination with the state and the county. So as far as review and outreach, when we prepared the document, we reviewed it internally. We also had a CEQA counsel, a CEQA attorney take a look at it. That was very helpful. And for outreach, we did several outreach measures. It went to the state clearinghouse. It went to the Monterey County clerk, which is required. We noticed it in the California newspaper. All the immediate neighbors were noticed by mail. There was a post at the gate at the Crazy Horse landfill for 30 days. We had the entire document and a lot of descriptions of the project on our website. And there were comments. We did receive comments. They are in your packet tonight. We received 6 comments. And those are provided tonight. Next slide, please. So the timeline of CEQA, we looked at the project. We determined it was quote unquote a project. We identified the project. We did an initial study, a draft initial study. We put out a notice of an intent to adopt that negative declaration. There was a 30-day comment period, which ended a couple weeks ago. Tonight is the public meeting for you to consider it. After that, we filed what's called a notice of determination. After that's filed, the public has 30 days by statute to challenge the result. So the next step is tonight, hopefully we adopt the negative declaration. We file the notice of determination. And after that's done, we can move forward with the, getting use permits, building permits, household hazardous waste permits, solid waste permits, and associated other permits for the site. Any questions?
Any questions from our directors? Sure.
Maybe, yes. So when the letters went out to the residing neighbors, nobody's contesting. Everybody's in favor.
Well, there wasn't a question of in favor or not. There was a question to notify them of the document existence and the meeting tonight. We did have one comment from one of the neighbors.
Just what?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Thank you. Jose Luis, do you have any comments or questions?
I do have one question. If we could turn back to the slide that had the summary of the findings, please. My question is pertaining to the air quality component, right? That was the only one that kind of really perked my ears when you were going over it, right? It appears that, perhaps the air quality component of this is just shy, from the sound of it, from the language use, it seemed like it's just shy of, quote unquote, less than significant impacts, right? So could you just speak to like what exactly the threshold is and how close are we to kind of like triggering a much higher, more adverse environmental impact in terms of air quality?
I go into some nauseating detail for you. Yeah, to answer the question, I'm going to pull up a page on the actual initial study to better explain, make it some clarity. So what they do is they have something called CAL-EMOD, which is a calculation of impacts for air quality. And you take, there's a variety of inputs, has to do with on-site traffic, has to do with equipment that's being operated, has to do with, there's a construction component as well as an operational component. And then they have a level of significance that applies for certain different types of contaminants. Probably isn't great television. Going down. Okay, so it keeps going down, please. So here's this, there's, keep going down. So this is what's the levels of significance. If you look on the left, they have what the source of the emissions is, this particulate matters or VOCs, NOx, particulate matter, SOx. And so on the right hand, those are the pounds per day that we come, the level of significance. If it's under that, it's less than significant. If it's over that, it's more than significant. So we're looking at between 82 and 150 pounds a day is what the level set. If it's, again, below, it's less than significant, and above, higher. Go ahead and move down. So about calculations, our results, keep going down, please, are a factor of a less than a pound up to a high of 1.4 pounds. So we're way below the levels of significance in the air quality that's allowed. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you for that clarification. It was just the way that it was phrased at the beginning, like during the presentation itself, just made me think based on the language that we were a lot closer to that. I think it was 182 or whatever, that 132, that we were just kind of shy of that, right? But this,
yeah. So and in the checklist you have like no impact, less significant impact, significant impact, and I mean there's 4 different check boxes, quote unquote. So, and these numbers that we produce are done again by this Cal EMOD, which is it's a frequently used CEQA tool to calculate these effects.
okay. Thank you for the clarification. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments from our board of directors, I'll put it out to the public for any public comments at this time. Seeing no one rushing to the podium here in the chambers, I'll go out to Zoom.
No members of the public council.
How about email?
None.
Okay, but I thought I remember somebody saying that there was some kind of communication from one of the neighbors.
Right, if you look at the very end of the CEQA document in your packet, so there were 6 different comments that came in, and we had a response to those comments are in there.
And it's in our packet.
They are. Yeah, and those should be considered for the total.
I follow up on that. It is a resident that lives around there. She contacted me to basically share some of the same thoughts. I will say, you know, it's the only contact my office has had in this whole process, and we put stuff out on social media periodically and in my newsletter. And it's the only person that has expressed any opposition. I understand she lives right there next to it. I've got 7, 8, 9. I mean, I don't know what I can think of. People have expressed support. So, you know, it's very limited, justifiably so.
Sure.
You know, because they're living right next to it, and it's going to cause some, anything that happens around where you live causes some disruption. I think some of our questions were addressed.
Yeah, I think that, but looking at the nature of the comment, I don't think she understood what the project is. She was referring to heavy equipment, seagulls, earth moving. You know, it's a transfer facility. Those weren't part of the project.
Yeah, and the same thing she mentioned about, well, this is supposed to be closed, and not
Right.
quite understand. It
Yeah, I
still
think
is
we
closed.
thought we're reopening the landfill is what I think that
Oh, okay.
her supposition was.
So again, it's just a part of us educating our constituents.
I thought she was maybe going to be down here. She said she was going to, I said, you know, she could be here, she could, you know,
Zoom.
engage by Zoom or whatever, but apparently, she did not.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna wait for Evarista to return to the chambers because I just think we have a quorum yet to even take action, so. We will wait. Everybody smile. Yeah, and cheer for her. We could move our lips and pretend like we're talking. We're almost there.
Just from my enlightenment, since I'm not in the room, who else is not in the chambers that we're waiting on for quorum.
Evarista left the room for a second, and unfortunately, she makes our quorum tonight because Mr. Sandoval left about 40 minutes ago. And so we only have, right now in our council chambers, we have the three of us, the executive committee, and then yourself on Zoom. So I'd like to wait for her to, I'll give her another minute to get back. Is it possible to take a vote with just the four of us? We have to have five.
We need her for the quorum.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
Need her for the next item too.
Yeah. Okay, I think she's coming. Thanks for returning because we have to wait for you to take action. Thank goodness she didn't leave. Wonder why you guys were looking at me. I said, what do you do? Okay, with regards to item number 8, it is an actionable item, so I need to ask a director to please submit a motion.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
You been moved and seconded to approve this negative declaration as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Director Bañuelos,
Yes.
Director Barajas,
Yes.
and Vice President De La Rosa,
Yes.
Vice President Church,
Yes.
and President Silva.
Aye. Thank you. Whew. Okay, next item. For consideration of the request to include a Levine Act disclosure within the authority's agenda. Staff report.
Thank you, Madam President. Patrick and I received an email request from Board Member Sandoval requesting that a Levine Act disclosure be added to the agenda for the board. As part of that request, we brought it forward to EC to let them know that we had received the request and that we would be bringing it forward to the board for consideration, as adding or removing things from the agenda is an item that should be a decision that should be made by the board and not by Mr. Matthews or myself. So we brought this item forward. The Levine Act, it's been in existence, and as part of the agenda packet, I provided a pretty lengthy overview, just so everybody had kind of full details and background of the Levine Act. But effectively, the Levine Act's been in existence since I believe 1982, and there was recent updates. Previously, it didn't apply to elected officials, but in the last 3 or 4 years, they've now expanded the scope and now applies to elected officials. And it deals with campaign contributions specifically. It used to be a $250 limit. It's now, as of January 1st of this year, increased to $500. So if an elected official receives campaign contribution in excess of $500, and an individual or an agent, well, I guess the contribution comes from an individual, a corporation, or an agent acting on behalf of an individual business corporation, and they have an item pending before the elected official, it could trigger a conflict of interest requiring disclosure and recusal. And it depends on the nature of the item being considered. For example, if it's a public works contract that's gone out for competitive bidding, that would not qualify for Levine Act disclosure. If it's a contract of less than $50,000, that would not trigger. It's really for the board, not an item an issue that comes up as often as it does for the Board of Supervisors or City Council, because a lot of the structure which would trigger this is dealing with land use entitlements like permitting, licensing, things like that, that the authority doesn't tend to do on a daily basis. Doesn't mean that that's not something that could come up with the board. Is just less frequent for us, given the nature of what we do at the Solid Waste Authority. One of the main issues or differences between kind of normal conflicts of interest disclosures and the Levine Act is the Levine Act does require you to do a disclosure at the beginning of, well, not so much the beginning, but prior to the consent agenda and any sort of consideration items. For a normal fair political practices, conflict of interest, you don't have to make a disclosure until that item actually comes up for consideration. Another difference is even if you have a conflict that requires disclosure, if the item's on consent, you can still stay within the room. You don't have to recuse yourself and exit the dais, which is another difference between an FPPC or fair political practices conflict. For a fair political practice conflict, you have to recuse yourself, disclose the conflict, recuse yourself, and then leave the dais and exit the room. So for anything that's considered non-contested, which is the typically consent items, you can still stay even after disclosure of the conflict. The disclosure requirements, you have to disclose the amount of the contribution and the entity who provided the contribution to you. You do have an option to return the contribution in order to cure the issue. Depending, there are some different circumstances which will allow you to still consider the item before returning the funds. I'm not going to get into the weeds on that component of it, but you do have the ability to still consider an item as long as you guarantee, you make the declaration that you're going to return the funds and you do in fact return the contribution. But for our purposes, I wanted to bring it to the board to decide if we wanted to add this item into the agenda. I put a sample Levine Act disclosure that's very specific to just the Levine Act. Other jurisdictions, each jurisdiction treats it a little differently. Some will have a general conflict of interest reminder right before the consent, basically reminding elected officials, if you have a conflict of interest, it is your duty to disclose. So it could be as simple as putting something shorter, just reminding like, hey, if you have a conflict of interest under the Fair Political Practices or the Levine Act, at this time, you should, disclose that conflict. One thing to remember is the disclosure at the beginning does not prevent you from having to, when that item actually comes up, remember to recuse yourself. So even though you do make a disclosure at the beginning, if you don't follow through with the recusal and exit the dais, you would still be in violation. But I kind of just wanted to gauge the board, answer any questions you may have about, generally about the Levine Act and see if the board is inclined to include either a Levine Act specific, what I would say is reminder that we can place at the beginning before the consent, or like I said in the memo I did provide, it's a Levine Act specific one, and it's kind of lengthy, but that is an option. Some jurisdictions use that as their method of disclosure. It's really at the board's purview.
Okay, thank you. I will open it up for input from our board of directors. Anybody have input? Glenn?
Just want to emphasize what you said verbally.
Can you turn on your mic, please?
Speaker.
Oh, shit, I should use speaker. So, sorry, Jose. I'll just want to Roy addressed this verbally, but I want to just clarify for insight here is that it was down as a contribution more than 250 would be a violation.
Just for clarification on the document here, it actually says the contribution limit was increased to 500. It's actually more than 500.
Sorry, yeah, so it's clear, yeah, so it's above, so it has to, so it'd be $501.
Right, or 501 cent.
Or in one, so yeah, it just has to be more than 500.
I just wanted that little
Yeah.
clarification. I get a little joy out of catching lawyers on little tiny things. It's just like I do with accountants on a few cents here and there. So I wanted to take advantage of that while I had it, because it may not come again for a while. Could you explain what the penalty is for violation?
It depends. So the body that controls the issuance of the penalties would be the FPPC. Part of the penalties for failing to properly disclose a conflict of interest could be fine. It could be suspension of your ability to participate as an elected official. It could result in even a lifetime ban from ever holding elected office. It depends on the severity. So that's why I say that it's kind of multi-factored, but they would be the body that would issue that penalty. It could be a combination of fine and some sort of suspension, all the way up to being prohibited from holding elected office in the state of California for life.
Any others?
I have a question, Roy. Thank you for this. But, you know, this is all new to me. I've heard of the Living Act, but it's, you know, it's broken down into, I'm one who wants to process and understand it. But my thing is that, did something arise for this to be brought to the board?
So the reason why it was brought to the board was Board Member Sandoval requested that we add a Levine Act. He sent the email to both Mr. Matthews and myself asking that we add a Levine Act disclosure to the agenda for the board meetings. Both Mr. Matthews and myself felt that was something that should be decided by the board, not by the two of us. And so that's why this item's coming to the board for consideration at this time. I'm not aware of any complaints or any issues that any members of our board during any of our board meetings had any sort of violation or alleged violation of the Levine Act. That hasn't been an issue yet. I know there may be some concerns with, you know, some things that may be on future agendas that may trigger the Levine Act for members of our board, but at this time, there hasn't been any complaints that I'm aware of or been brought to my attention that any member of our board has violated the Levine Act. That's, you know, kind of triggering the desire to add this to the agenda. I know it's, my understanding is there is a type of disclosure that the city of Salinas does at the beginning of its city council meetings related to the Levine Act. And that may be where Board Member Sandoval, you know, based on, you know, what's being done at the city council level where he sits, he wanted to bring that same kind of process to the board here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Gloria, do you have any input? No. Turn your microphone.
Very familiar with the Living Act. Thank you.
Okay. Jose Luis?
Yes, I do have some questions. So I will just start off with saying it's kind of disappointing that the person who requested this left the meeting, you know, well over an hour ago and didn't wait to speak to the issue that they brought before the body. But that aside, I do want to say, I think this was triggered, again, given that the maker of the request isn't here, like, just because the authority is going through real property negotiations with the previous properties around Sun Street, is my kind of sense of like why this was brought forward. But in terms of questions, if the authority opted to include some type of Levine Act disclosure, whether it's the lengthier version or the more general version, is that something that could be stipulated to only be required as a disclosure if and when we have any items pertaining to real property negotiations or land use issues, kind of like only when items pertaining to the Sun Street transfer station negotiations, only then would that kind of show up on the agenda, or does it have to be evenly applied to all meetings moving forward?
No, it could be added at the will of the board, so it could be in a limited scope, meaning that it's only added to the agenda when we have items on the agenda that potentially would trigger the need for a Levine Act disclosure. It's not like I said, it's not required at all to be on the agenda. And the reason being is the liability and the requirements for complying with the Levine Act are individually held by each elected official. Meaning regardless of whether the disclosure reminder is on there, if you forget, the penalties and the requirement to have disclosed is borne solely by the elected official who holds that potential conflict. So the board could decide to not have a reminder or a disclosure on the agenda, or to put it on only when there is a triggering event that is wholly within the board's authority.
Okay. And then with the current rules and policies of the authority, is there any disclosure requirement similar or adjacent to a Levine Act if and when we have real property negotiations or any other type of issue coming before the body, right? So if it's a contract with someone who we may have a financial conflict of interest, but this is different because it's based on campaign contributions, not, the board member themselves having a direct stake in, the contract or the business or entity itself.
Yeah, there really isn't anything similar, and unfortunately, because the disclosure requirements are a little bit different than your normal federal fair political practices. Conflict disclosure, meaning by law, your Levine Act disclosure has to come before you even get into consent or consideration. If you have a normal, or what I would say a regular fair FPPC conflict issue, you don't have to make the disclosure until that item comes up for consideration. So we don't really have anything at this time built into our agenda that is comparable, again, aside from the general requirement that, everybody is responsible for disclosing their conflicts or potential conflicts on their own.
Okay. And then aside from this item being brought forth before this body, do you know of any other regional boards and commissions outside of the bodies that this typically applies to, or is more front of mind for, like you mentioned, the county, the city councils? Are there any other agencies that we're aware of that have this type of disclosure in their agendas?
For JPAs, not that I can think of off the top of my head, especially nothing local that I can think of. And part of that is there is an issue, a bit of gray area, so to speak, in the law, in the sense that our board members and most JPA board members aren't directly elected to the particular boards they're appointed. So there is some gray area on whether the Levine Act would apply or not. However, the fact that, especially for our board, the fact that all our members are elected and not just simply appointed members, meaning you are still an elected official when you sit on our board, even though you're not elected to this board. I would not want to make that argument before the FPPC, or be the first one to make the argument that it didn't apply because I was appointed versus directly elected, even though there is kind of that gray area. So that's why I still brought it forward, even though there is kind of that gray, and an abundance of caution, because that's usually my default, is to be as protective to the board as possible.
Okay. On the Salinas City Council, our legal team does I know you mentioned it's kind of up to the onus of each individual director to kind of be aware of what's coming. And obviously on this particular body, we're not necessarily dealing with land use thing items on a very consistent basis or a very regular basis. But if and should the authority or this body implement some type of Levine Act disclosure, would we be able to count on support from yourself or other authority staff to look over, financial contributions to our respective campaigns and keep an eye out for if and when those things might come up?
Definitely, I'm always here to assist the members of the board and staff on any issues relating not to conflicts of interest or anything that may come before the board. What I always caution though is when it comes to legal advice on compliance with FPPC rules and things like that, I will always point you to the FPPC to seek guidance from them, because even if you rely or tell the FPPC that you relied on guidance from me, that will not protect you for if they determine that there was a violation. They are the only ones that can issue an opinion on their rules that provides you with protection should you rely upon them. Just relying on the advice of counsel typically is not sufficient to protect you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is kind of like a question / requests all in one. I know we're going to get to motions, but just want to put this food for thought. I'm not comfortable with I'm familiar with the Levine Act as is, but I'm not comfortable taking action on this tonight or providing further direction. I would like to get some more clarity and perhaps like a legal opinion, or reaching out to the FPPC and like getting something in writing from them as to providing more clarity in that gray area of whether, the Levine Act even applies in this particular case, right? We don't want to be the ones, like you mentioned, being the first ones to make that argument before the FPPC. But if we're able to get a little bit more clarity on that, and also just, I'm also very uncomfortable particularly taking this decision when we barely have quorum, right? And the person who requested this isn't here to speak to the intent behind having this type of disclosure on this body. And that's the rest of my comments.
Yeah, and I'll just add one little bit of clarity. So I did speak briefly with Board Member Sandoval before he left, and he did explain to me that the kind of the basis for his concern was the upcoming real property related issues that the board may be considering in the next coming months, including the lease with TAP and the sale of Sun Street, and that he would be comfortable with sort of, any kind of disclosure, whether it was, the version that I provided in the memo or some sort of shortened version. But that was kind of the extent of our conversation on, what he was open to and kind of the background that he communicated to me led him to make the request.
Thank you for providing that additional background, but I still will echo the comments I made earlier. I'm still uncomfortable taking a decision on this tonight, both due to the lack of participation from other folks, the other South County folks, Supervisor Lopez, and also the maker of the motion. While I appreciate that, discussion was had, offline or off to the side, right? That's a discussion that, those are the comments that he should be making in public, right? If you want transparency, have that transparency on the discussion itself. Don't just have that side conversation with legal counsel and have them communicate that through that way, right? So I appreciate the context, but I'm still uncomfortable with taking action on this tonight.
Thank you. Now I'm going to give my input. It is my understanding that even if we vote not to put it on our agenda, we are still bound to follow the Levine Act, since it's been a rule since the 1980s. So I did reach out to our legal counsel this week, and I asked who polices this? Is there a Levine Act police person that attends every meeting and checks each one of us? And there is none. It does not fall on my shoulders. It does not fall on his shoulders. It does not fall on the executive director nor the clerk. I too am uncomfortable that the person that brought this is not here. Because it leaves us in a very awkward situation because we only have 5 board members online today, online or here in person, which is unfortunate. And it's too bad that the alternates could not be here to help represent their jurisdictions. But I am correct in saying that even if this was not to be any part of our agenda, we are still bound by following these rules, and we know them because Roy shared the information with us. We as responsible elected officials, it's up to us to disclose any kind of conflict at any time. If we need more education when we do start to represent our jurisdictions on boards such as this, then maybe we just need to get a little bit more education. This was news to me. I had never heard of it, but then, I don't think I have a lot of conflicts because I fund my own campaigns. I'm self-funded. I know that others in other situations are not self-funded, but I think they're responsible enough to know when to say, I've got a conflict and present it rather than waiting for the FPPC to come knocking on their door. So I'm sorry, Eva, did you have an additional comment?
No, I actually agree with you because we don't have full on board here. So I think we should just wait.
Yeah. Glenn?
So, several things here I want to kind of address, and we could go to the FPPC. When this first came out, it was $250. I actually had some questions about it myself. I had somebody who was a contractor and gave me $250 and asked, well, so if something comes before the board and I have, I've given you $250 and then I got my, maybe the architect's going to be able to work with me, gave you $250, maybe the actual contractor, gave you, or the property owner gave $250, and that, because it is also with associated parties, as mentioned in there, would that exceed it? I wrote the FPPC. I went around in circles for a couple of months. I could not get a straight answer out of them. And, since they've raised it to 500, they've addressed some of the issues here that come up. So if we're looking for answers from them, I haven't been impressed so far in my outreach to them, and it could take some time if we ever get anything clear. This is something that I have to be aware of because, to run a real Super Zero campaign is going to be $250,000. And where these issues come up all the time. The Board of Supervisors does not have anything up before it on its agenda, and it's on all of us. We got to be aware of who is contributing to us, and make our decisions appropriately. It's whether it's on the agenda or it's not. I feel really uncomfortable putting it onto an attorney. I trust you, Roy, but not with me being banned from politics for life. I don't trust you that much. So it's, it really behooves anybody to be aware of this. And it was suggested here in a couple of options of one of just having this before us all the time to look at, which I don't know if there's anybody in the county that's doing that. Or it was suggested that if there's an issue that comes up, we should put it up there. I'm uncomfortable doing it on that part-time because then we're putting a burden on staff to try to track this down and make sure they do it right. And they got enough to do. They don't need to be trying to cover us when we need to be aware of things. So, I'm okay if people want to wait onto it, but I don't think we should even be, we should be putting it on there. Now, what I'm trying to remember is coming on the board. Do we have a packet or some information that was given to us when we came on the board?
Onboarding.
On this board?
Yeah, there's the orientation manual, but it's mostly, codes and budgets.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was. I would just suggest putting it in that if you want to put it somewhere. It'd be good because I think you pointed out, Liz, we're not familiar with this and I understand, it's your self-fund. It's, there's some, this county, Delray, Oak, Sand City, or, they're not part of this, but there's some small, small agencies, small cities around here that these details can be kind of hard to get a hold of, and even here on this side of the county. So that's the only thing I would suggest is just to include it in that. I don't think it takes board action to do that. And I would frankly, I don't think we should be wasting our time on it. It's on the individual people that are here. You're the one responsible, not this agency.
Go ahead.
I have to support what Councilwoman Panuelo said and Councilmember Barajas said. We don't have a full board tonight, and Councilmember Sandoval brought this forward. I think he should be present.
Okay, so I think the direction is we're not going to take action tonight on this item. And if it pleases the board members that are present tonight, if you want me to move it to the October meeting, I will. And that will be taken into consideration whether or not Mr. Sandoval is present that night. I mean, I think that's the fair way to go. What do y'all think? I am too. I mean, that's why I reached out to Roy. Jose Luis, what do you think?
I would be comfortable with that, but also I'm also along the same lines of Supervisor Church's comments, right? It's still, and what you, Chairwoman, also mentioned earlier, right? It's to the onus of the individual to make these disclosures, right? So I also, although I mean, I'm the one that made the comment, right? Like, we don't have a full board. Maybe that's one of my main points of like being uncomfortable with taking action on this tonight. But I also feel that it's a waste of time for us to continue this conversation, have these exact same comments again, just taking up again staff time when there's so many other things that different workflows that we have to address. So I'm fine with continuing the conversation, but I'm also to an extent fine with just taking action tonight, depending on where the majority of the board is.
Thank you. Huh? Yeah, hold on, Eva.
So
Yep.
just in the end, I want to agree with Supervisor Church had mentioned, it's not all the time that something arises, but us as adults, I think we should know what we're doing and then excuse ourselves when something does arise in our agenda, because we're not elected here as board directors, but as, representing our jurisdiction. So.
Okay, so then what I'm hearing now is there's a possible switch. So do I hear, or does somebody want to entertain a motion then to just drop the item altogether?
I will make a move that we accept the report, and that's it.
But we have to provide direction.
Well, provide direction, included it in the orientation agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved.
Orientation material, not agenda.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that the Levine Act verbiage will be included in the onboarding packet, and rather than bringing it to the October meeting. Is that what I understand? Is that what you wanted? Is that how I understand you?
Well,
Okay.
I think
The orientation packet.
you want to include it in the October meeting?
No, exclude from the October.
Oh, exclude. Okay.
And include in the orientation package
Correct.
for each board member.
Correct.
Okay, is there any other comments? No. Okay, I'll take it out for public comment on Zoom.
No public on Zoom.
Any emails?
No.
Bring it back to the board for action. It's been moved and seconded to not bring this to the October meeting, but rather include the language into the orientation package for each board member. All in favor, I'll do a roll call vote.
Director Bañuelos,
Yes.
Director Barajas,
Yes.
Alternate Vice President De La Rosa,
Yes.
Vice President Church,
Aye.
and President Silva.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Phew. Okay, moving on to future agenda items.
Okay, well, we have one less, we have one less item for October. So if you go to the last page on your agenda packet, you'll see our look ahead schedule. As usual, we will be having the exciting audit report. Yeah, and then we'll also be introducing our current class of the youth council, be introduced at the meeting. We may push the item on the ordinances. One more meeting. It just depends on whether we get some of the information we're looking for in the next few days. But we have a couple of ordinance code amendments that we want to make. One that came out of the board retreat, and another one has to do actually with purchasing limits that we really haven't looked at for many, many years. I know some of the cities have been bumping up their city manager or general manager purchasing limits just to reduce paperwork and make things a little more efficient. So we'll be bringing a couple of ordinances back, but it's possible that we're going to push those to the November and December meeting. So,
Okay.
and then we also will have a presentation and a request to authorize bidding for module 8. So that's our next landfill module. It's the biggest thing that we build on a regular basis every so many years, and so that'll be going forward. And then we'll obviously be continuing to have some discussions regarding the recruitment of a new GM, and we are now actively starting negotiations with our operations unit, whose MOU will be expiring in June of next year. So we'll be having a meeting on that in closed session with the board to get direction either in October or November, or potentially both, depending on the timeliness of getting our compensation study back, which is in progress right now. That's all I have. So if there's anything else you'd like to add, subtract, or modify on the agenda, just let myself or Erica know.
Thank you. Seeing no further business. And before we go into closed session, I will receive public comment from the audience before going into our closed session tonight. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, to confer with General Counsel Roy C. Santos, General Manager CAO Patrick Matthews, Human Resource Supervisor Monica Ambrist, and Clerk of the Board Erica Trujillo, concerning the appointment of public agency employee, General Manager. Adjourn to closed session. Thank you. We reconvene at 8:57 PM. General Counsel, is there anything to report out?
No reportable action at this time, Madam President.
Thank you. See no further action that will be taken tonight, then I will adjourn our meeting. Thank you so much. See you next month.
Thank you.